Hi everyone, welcome to Engineering Q&As. This is a video series where we interview people from across the College of Engineering to learn more about the programs and opportunities that our students have here. This video is going to focus on the Office of Professional Practice and the programs that they offer. So I'm joined here by three panelists. We have Joe Tort, the Associate Director of the office, as well as two students involved in their programs. So Joe, we can start off with you. Do you want to give us an overview of the Office of Professional Practice? What all do you do? Why would students want to join your programs? And what do you bring to the table?
Thanks, Aurie. Well, Office of Professional Practice administers two main programs. We administer the campus-wide cooperative education program and the GEARE program for the College of Engineering. The co-op program at Purdue has been around for over 60 years. The program allows students to integrate their academic studies with real-life work experiences. Within the co-op program, a student can gain anywhere between 12 and 20 months of professional experience. We have three different ways, three different versions of co-op at Purdue. We have something that we call our 5-term co-op program, which basically means that a student will work with a company 5 different times throughout their academic career. They actually can start that program as soon as they complete their first year. So in a way, it's the soonest that they're able to start work. So starting right after their first year, either in the summer or the fall. In general, it follows a rotational pattern. The student goes to work for a term, they come back to Purdue to gain more educational experience, and then they go back to work. We generally utilize a one-employer model at Purdue, and that allows us to make sure that the student, every time that they go back to work, they can progress in terms of their responsibilities and experiences with the company. Companies take a long-term vision of how they're working with the student. So they want to get that student a lot of different experience within the company. Many companies will rotate that student to different divisions, or they'll just keep progressively giving that student more responsibility each time that they come back. A second type of co-op program is basically a 3-term co-op program. It works the same way as the 5-session co-op program. It just starts a little bit later, generally after the student's second year or even after their third year. The reason for this, it has to do with the industry partners that we work with. Some industry would like a student to have more academic experience before they begin with the co-op. In these programs, students are going to make on average about $4,000 per month. That means in the span of the co-op program, a student can make anywhere between $50,000 and $80,000. Which is a real benefit for the students' financial needs. A third type of co-op program that we have that is new is something that we call flex co-op. The 5-session and the 3-session are both one-employer model type programs. But we've realized that students are looking maybe for a little bit of flexibility, maybe aren't so sure that if they start in a co-op program after their freshman year, if they're going to actually still like that company or that industry that they get into. And so a flex co-op allows the student to work with the company at least 2 rotations. If they decide that maybe that industry is not right for them or things aren't working out with the company, it allows the student to switch and work with another company for another two sessions. The co-op program at Purdue is a voluntary program. Thus, students aren't forced to do it. However, the students who complete the co-op rotations will earn a certificate upon graduation. So it's an addition to their undergraduate degree. The GEARE program at Purdue is something that's very unique. GEARE stands for Global Engineering Alliance for Research and Education. It is the most comprehensive global engineering training program in the world. Students in that program, they're going to get a minor in global engineering studies. For that minor, they're going to complete language studies. They're going to study abroad for a full semester. They're going to do at least 2 work experiences, generally 1 domestically or 1 internationally. However, work experiences, as long as they're in 2 different countries, that works for us. A student will do a global design team project, and students will also do 3 1-credit intercultural training courses, which are aimed at improving the students' global competency. Global competency is something that can be measured, and within the GEARE program at Purdue, we found that we are helping our students grow at 3 times the rate of any other international program that has published research similar to what we're doing. So it is an extremely effective program, allows students to spend anywhere between 8 and 12 months abroad, sometimes, as you'll hear, even longer. So it is the most global experience that an engineering student could have at Purdue and possibly anywhere else in the country.
Yeah, definitely sounds like it. So with the co-op program, how many students typically do it in the College of Engineering? Is it fairly common? Is it not as common as maybe students that just do internships?
Within the College of Engineering, it is about 10% of our population. Depending on the particular major, some majors are higher. So you'll hear from Katie a little bit later. In chemical engineering, it's something almost 20% of the students in chemical engineering are doing co-op programs. Mechanical engineering, closing in between 15 and 20%. But on average, it's about 10% of our students are participating in co-op programs.
So why would students want to do co-op instead of internships, or maybe the other way around?
Co-op is sort of like the honors of work experience, so that it is the most work experience that you could get while you're in college. We integrate it with the academic studies so that we know that each time the student goes back, they're utilizing more of their academics, so it's really useful for them. Students are able to build a network with the companies that they're working with. Students are able to get it's really likely that students would be able to be hired by the company. About 80% of the students who go through the co-op program receive an offer with their co-op company. If you take that offer with the co-op company, you can think about what that could do to your career, because starting out, you would already have a big network within the company that could help you advance more quickly.
Awesome. So I've heard that co-op can extend graduation. Is that true? How often, like how long can it extend graduation? And does that add any cost or any other maybe kind of downsides with being in co-op?
Yeah, the co-op program takes 5 years to graduate. You only pay for 4 years. During the times that you are working, you're getting paid for that work and you're not paying tuition at Purdue. So there is a little bit of a trade-off in terms of time to graduation. However, coming out, it's really the only way that you're going to come out of school with at least a year's worth of work experience. And a lot of entry-level engineering jobs will be looking for at least a year of work experience.
Awesome. So moving on to the GEARE program, definitely sounds very unique for Purdue. What student would be maybe the right fit for this program? What kind of students are you looking for?
Students who are looking to have global opportunities and global careers. If students come into Purdue with a lot of language experience already, we definitely want to have those students and help them progress. It's not necessary that you have language experience to come in, but definitely if you do, we want to help you progress in that area. I think that the students who are looking to do this are students who are looking for adventure, students who are looking to become very independent in nature, very mature in nature, and those who are very much interested in helping the world solve different challenges and being able to interact with people from all over the world.
What about cost? Are there additional costs of the GEARE program or anything like that compared to if a student were just to be on campus for 4 years?
The GEARE program is a cost neutral program. So when students do the study abroad portion of the program, they will pay their same tuition to Purdue. They pay their room and board while abroad. However, that room and board in many of the places we're sending students is less than what they could expect to pay at Purdue. We also are creating many scholarships for students. All of the GEARE students who do the international portion, the study abroad portion of the GEARE program will get, right now it's a $1,500 scholarship for completing the intercultural training piece of the program. Some will be we'll have availability for other study abroad scholarships as well. In addition, our office is raising money to help students during the international internship period. Now, when a student does an internship overseas, they don't get paid like they do in the U.S. Engineering internships in the U.S. are very, very well paid. Around the world, not so much. What we're trying to do is make sure that the student gets paid enough to cover their cost of living. Even though they don't make a lot of money on that international rotation, it is something that makes them very unique. Still, across the country, less than 5% of engineering students with a study abroad experience. Most of those students who get one are short-term experiences, not the longer-term experiences like we are creating with GEARE. And certainly, not many students will have an international work experience. Well less than 1% of the graduates from the U.S. So it is something that would make student look very unique.
That's awesome. I had no idea the number of engineers that have study abroad experience was so low across the country. So,
Well, it's easy to overlook because Purdue actually is very good in terms of study abroad for our engineering students. Something between 25 and 30% of our students will actually study abroad in some capacity.
yeah, that's awesome. I know it's been a big focus, especially in recent years, encouraging more and more engineering students to study abroad before they graduate and finding ways to make it through programs like GEARE, where students can study abroad maybe even multiple times without even having to extend their graduation date as well. So, really cool program to have.
Yeah.
So we're also joined by two students here as well. So I want to hear from them as well. Let's start with Katie, who is the president of the Professional Practice Ambassadors, if I got that right. Do you want to talk about what you've done in co-op, why you joined the program, and what your experiences have been throughout?
Sure. So my name is Katie Dudek. I'm in my last semester here in chemical engineering at Purdue. I completed a 5-term co-op with Procter & Gamble in Cincinnati, doing research and development projects for their shampoo brands, such as Head & Shoulders and Pantene. Beyond that, I am president of PPA. It's an organization where we kind of do a few things. We create a social outlet for co-ops, because it is such a unique experience, flipping back and forth between work and school. And then we also do a lot of help and volunteering for the OPP to help promote the co-op program for prospective students, things like that.
Awesome. So what would you say your social life has been like being in co-op? Has it affected it in any way? Have you, what's been your experience with the social life when you've been on campus?
It is a bit different. It's a little bit like, when you leave for work, your friends kind of stay and keep doing what they're doing at school. So you do kind of almost take breaks from your social life here at Purdue. But I think you can make that up by while you're at work. You can make a lot of new friendships with coworkers and other co-ops and interns and things like that. While I was at work, I played on sports teams with coworkers, definitely went out to dinners and did stuff on the weekends with people that I met through work. So, it's all what you make of it. I think it is kind of a bummer that you're having to leave your friends sometimes, but I think you can definitely make up for it by getting to explore a new place while in co-op.
So why did you choose then to do a co-op instead of an internship? Obviously, it's much more prevalent in chemical engineering, it sounds like. Is there a specific reason for that, or is it just that it seems to align well with the industry?
I think for me, I chose to do a co-op because, the reputation and the network that you get to build by going back each time instead of starting at a new company, like you would maybe with an internship. And you're there for working for longer periods of time, longer than like a traditional internship that's like 12 weeks. You might have 16 or 17 weeks. And I know it might not sound like much more time, but those few extra weeks can really do a lot in terms of proving yourself and in terms of getting, the company is more willing to trust you with higher responsibility and give you higher impact projects when you are there for a few extra weeks. So that was pretty important to me.
How about housing? How does housing work with both maybe on campus at Purdue as well as housing when you're off working with your employers?
So I would say that most co-ops get pretty familiar with the sublease concept. So there's Facebook groups at Purdue and in the cities where you'd end up working. So for me, it was Cincinnati. And there's people posting, rooms available, things like that. So I ended up, in my experience, I ended up living with a lot of different people, and some experiences were better than others. But there's definitely options there. If that's not your thing, you can still live in the dorms for a semester long, and co-op is a relevant reason to kind of make changes to your lease. And then you could also just sign a full year lease somewhere at Purdue, and then you'd have to find someone to take your place while you're away working. But those are the main ways to do that.
So it sounds like if you're living off campus, you just find somebody to take over your apartment lease, because most of those are 12-month leases. But then if you're living on campus in the dorms, you can break your commitment. Awesome. That's
right.
good to know.
And yeah. Mm-hmm.
So are you in-state or out-of-state student?
I'm out of state.
Okay. So how has co-op helped with your finances? I mean, you obviously don't have to get too personal with it all, but has it helped with your tuition bills, or is a lot of what you're making going to living expenses, or how's that working for you?
Yeah. So I mean, I do. Yeah. So I am out of state, and I think that the wages that I've made while on co-op have put a significant dent in the debt that I would have had. I've been kind of looking at it because it's my last semester, and I'm going to have to start making payments. And it looks like I have roughly a third of the debt that I would have had I not done co-op. So it is a huge. I can't say that's the case for everybody, but it puts a significant it's a significant benefit in terms of reducing your debt for after college, and making sure that you're living comfortably during college.
So when you are off at work, has your employer, do they pay for housing? Do they put you up in housing? How has it worked for you and any other co-op students you know of? How does the housing situation as far as finances go for co-op students?
Mm-hmm. It definitely depends on the company. In my case, I get kind of a lump sum at the beginning, like before I start. And it doesn't cover everything. It's kind of meant to cover travel expenses between West Lafayette and Cincinnati, and then some percentage of what your rent might be. But I know other companies will actually provide housing for you. So they put all of their co-ops in the same house or the same apartment complex. Some companies will just pay your rent, whatever it is. It really depends on what company, but I'd say most companies provide some kind of help when it comes to housing and living expenses.
And how did you actually get your co-op rotation? Does the Office of Professional, do they just place you with the company? Did you actually seek out companies and interview? What was the process of getting your co-op position?
It was pretty independent. I did most of the work. There's a professional practice days, career fair, and then interview days in February every year, and it's hosted by the OPP and EPA. So basically during that, I went to the career fair. I talked with a bunch of companies and ended up getting interview slots with some of them. And then the next day I showed back up for interviews. And then you kind of take it after that, you just kind of work with the company to schedule additional interviews if necessary. And then eventually you'll get an offer.
So how have each of your rotations worked? Have you been doing the same thing each time? Have you been in the same location every time? How's the structure been for each of your co-op rotations?
So I have worked at the same place each time, but that's actually, I'm learning, pretty rare. Most people do move around, but if it's something that is important to you, there are companies that will allow you to stay in the same place. The work that I've done is definitely different each time. It's all within research and development though, so it is still sort of the same types of problem solving, but you're kind of given a new problem to solve each time, which I really like. Because, but in my case, being in the same place, I think was super beneficial because I was able to leverage the network that I created during a first term, during my later terms, and then just kind of build onto it from there. So that is a benefit to staying in the same place. But then also if you move around, you get the benefit of seeing how different aspects of a company works and how it's all interconnected, and that can be beneficial too.
What's been your maybe favorite work experience or the coolest thing you've done so far? Does anything come to mind?
Let's see. I mean, I don't know that I can point to something like specific, but I think really just the idea of the impact that I've made on the business. I think my work has been, it is kind of small. I'm just one person in this huge company, but you get to see the real impacts of and the effects of the work that you're doing, and like how, you know, that's translating to business goals and things like that. And I get to go see, I get to walk to the grocery store and see the shampoo that I worked on the shelf, which is kind of cool. So it's really just knowing that I'm working on improving products that people use every day. And yeah.
Nice. So would you say that it's been worth the extra year to graduate? Are you still glad you did the co-op program?
Yeah, absolutely. I think about all the experience I've gained. I have about 20 months of experience before I graduate. All the people that I've met and the skills that I've gained, the confidence that I've gained to work in industry, and plus the financial assistance. If I think about all of that, it definitely outweighs some of the negatives that would come with staying an extra year. I think the co-op program is an invaluable experience, and I would definitely recommend it to anybody looking at working in industry one day.
Awesome. Thanks, Katie. Taka, I think we're up to you now with GEARE, changing gears a little bit here. So how did you get involved with the GEARE program? Where have you been? How did you even first hear about the program?
Yeah, so the first time I heard about it was when I actually joined one of the orientation sessions. I joined FYE because I study aerospace engineering, and they host different panel discussions with returning students from different organizations. And I think actually Joe was speaking during one of the panels, and they were doing a presentation as part of OPP and what GEARE was doing. And as soon as I heard that, you have a chance to do all these crazy international experience during your college career. I was born in Japan, and before coming to university, I've lived in six different countries. And so, my mentality is, if I have the chance to go somewhere crazy and do crazy things, that's what I want to be doing. And so, yeah, I just fell in love with that concept. So that's how I got into GEARE. And throughout the 4 years, so I will be graduating in 5 years. So I have 22 months of international experience. It consists of studying abroad in the UK, working for 13 months in Germany and the UK, and then doing a research internship in Germany as well. So that's a little bit of how much experience I've gained through GEARE as part of the program.
And how did you get those work positions? That's a long time to work. Were you placed in that job? Did you have to seek out these opportunities? What was that process like of getting these international opportunities?
Yeah, sure. So the first, after my sophomore year, I had a 3-month summer, let's say, research internship in Germany. That was through, actually, Joe helped me out through his connections at a university in Germany. And so that was through connections within the GEARE network. And my 13-month internship, I interned at Airbus in the UK and Germany. It sounds a little bit cliche, but I literally applied online, and I had to go through the resume screening, the general application process. And in Europe, they generally have this thing called an assessment center, where people that have made it through the resume screening and the phone interviews, they bring 30 to 35 students, around that number of people, to their headquarters, and they do various group exercises, individual interviews, and various orientations for them to figure out, who will actually get through to the internship program.
Interesting. So how have you incorporated learning a language into your plan of study? What language did you choose?
Yeah, so I chose German. Before coming to Purdue, I studied Mandarin in high school, so I had no experience learning German. But after looking at the various options as part of aerospace engineering and talking to my advisor, I figured that actually there's quite a few options to do research, to work in Germany as well. So that's how it led me to decide German. And I will have finished 4 courses, so that's worth 12 credits worth of German courses by the time I graduate.
So, while GEARE students are able to graduate in 4 years, sounds like you're taking a little bit longer because you took a longer work term. Is that common for GEARE students? Do you know? Do you find it's worth taking that extra time?
Yeah, so to answer your first question, I would say most people will not take as long as I do. I think I've mentioned this a lot during the orientation programs, but having 22 months of experience as a GEARE student, I believe I have the record of being abroad the longest. So for those who are interested in the GEARE program, don't think that you have to be outside of Purdue for that long. There are many people who graduate in 4 years and maybe a couple of semesters on top of that 4 years. And to answer your second question on whether it's worth it, absolutely. I think it was one of the best decisions I've made. It's helped me become more self-aware. I've learned more about myself through that industry experience, study abroad, and researching abroad. And not only that, but it's helped me broaden my horizon in terms of what do I want to do in the future, what's out there, globally, and most importantly, meeting different people from different backgrounds. And that's the part I very much cherish, I would say.
What's been your favorite experience being a part of the GEARE program?
Being a part of the GEARE program, I think that the best experience is obviously the whole program gives you different opportunities and you get to travel, work at, domestically and internationally and so on. So that GEARE experience itself I appreciate, but the biggest thing is as part of GEARE you meet, I would say it's the people. So you meet, all these like-minded individuals, also in co-op, but people who want to get out of their comfort zones and sort of experience what it's like, whether that's working in industry or studying abroad, a country you've never been to, and they speak a foreign language and so on. And then you get to hear those people share their experiences, and sort of that process of growing together is a very interesting moment, and I very much personally enjoyed that experience.
That's awesome. What was your favorite place you visited when you were on your study abroad?
People ask me this all the time, and I can never give one particular location that I've loved, but oh, I think I would say Germany. Germany's probably the place I would pick, mainly because so in Germany, I did my summer research in Braunschweig, which is in the Saxony area, north, a little bit north, and then Hamburg, which is even north than that, where I worked at Airbus Hamburg. The culture, I think, I resonated pretty well with the local people. And the big thing for me is I love food, and the food in Germany is great. Obviously, the US, don't get me wrong, the US is also got some good food, but the German food I just fell in love with as well. So yeah, Germany would be the answer.
Awesome. And so, Taka, are you also graduating this semester?
Yeah.
Okay. So, Taka and Katie, both, I'm going to put you guys on the spot here. Do you have job offers yet, or are you still looking?
I can go ahead on this one, Katie. But so I do not have a job offer as of now. However, I do have an offer for a master's. This will be in the UK, which starts in September. But alongside that, I'm currently in the process for various companies and various industries.
Nice. How about you, Katie?
I have accepted a full-time offer with Procter & Gamble, so I start late June, and I'll be in the same location that I did my co-op, doing pretty similar work, but just at a higher level of responsibility and a little bit higher salary. So
Nice. Very cool. Joe, back to you. How do you work with employers to get them online for both the co-op program and the GEARE program? Is there already a list of employers? Are you actively seeking new ones? How's been the process of onboarding companies for these programs?
Yeah, in fact, you can find a list of our current employers on our OPP website, opp.purdue.edu. We have somewhere around 400 active employers. It's quite an effort for us. We have a lot of long-time employers in our co-op program. Some employers who have been with us 60 years that we keep building off of those. But it's always about making progress with new types of companies and new types of industries. And so we go out, we meet with employers when they're on campus. We go visit employers across the country. In the GEARE program, the same goes. We're looking for GEARE, we're looking for global companies that can potentially offer students opportunities here in the US and overseas. And so we've drawn a lot of those companies actually from our co-op program. It is actually possible to do both co-op and GEARE, and some companies have basically set up opportunities for students to work maybe on a 3-term co-op, doing a session here domestically, a session abroad, and a session back here in the United States. We are working with our university partners around the world to broaden our networks of companies and opportunities in the specific places where we're sending them.
Awesome. Well, I think that's about time for this interview. So thank you, all three of you, for being here today with us virtually as we're doing our social distancing during this time. But we really appreciate all of you taking your time to come and answer these questions. We'll have the link to the Office of Professional Practice website in the video description if you want to learn more about their programs. They are all great opportunities to broaden your horizons, both professionally, globally, socially. So definitely look more into the co-op program and the GEARE program here at Purdue University. Thanks again, guys. Have a great rest of your day.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
thank you.